Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Julie Callahan, and welcome to the Arvadans For Progressive Action APA October meeting. Today we will be having the Arvada City Council Candidate Forum. Welcome. Today is going to be sort of a streamlined meeting, so we spend the majority of our time talking to the candidates. So it may look a little different than it has in the past. Do we have any new members who would like to be recognized? Okay. I do want to remind everybody that we are recording. And so anything you say and do will be recorded and put online. We have a lot to cover today. Jim is our timekeeper. Please pay attention to him when you're speaking, and he will show you how much time you have left. At this time, we're going to pass the basket to try to get some money, because we do have things we have to pay for, like church, Zoom, and incidentals. If you did not get a chance to write a question on a card, please raise your hand. We'll bring you a question or a piece of paper. We haven't written it down. So you can write it down and we will present that. Are there any elected officials here today? Just like to say hi. Just say hi. Okay, raise your hand. Very good. We will be talking to all of you in a bit. I would like to see if any of the school board candidates would like to come up and spend 2 minutes. Is Michelle Applegate here? Yes. Please come up.
Did anyone miss writing the question? You always have the cards right now.
Ready? Well, hi everyone. I'm Michelle Applegate. I am a candidate for District 3 running for Jeffco School Board. And I am a mom, I'm a professional, and I am a lifelong supporter of public education, and I am guided by 3 priorities. The first is to ensure that we have strong, thriving public schools. The second is that we make safety a part of the student experience. And the third is to build trust through budget transparency. So I support access for strong, thriving public schools in every neighborhood across our county, because every student deserves an education that ignites their curiosity, responds to their learning style, and also prepares them for whatever path they want to pursue. And every kid's different. I have 3 at home. I have a 16-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And as you can imagine, they're all very different. The needs are different, the motivations are different, and really their learning goes in different waves over time. And so how do we do this? We start with a focus on student achievement and growth. We take what's working across the district and we replicate it. But really we need to understand our communities, we need to understand the needs of our educators, our teachers, and our staff, and we need to take those into account. So I stand for nothing less than safe and secure schools where teachers can teach and students can learn, because we all know that learning happens best when everyone feels safe and a sense of belonging. I co-parent with an educator. My oldest is my stepson, and I have the really good fortune of being close friends with his mom. And over the years, she's opened my eyes to what it means to teach kindergarten in a title school in our district. So we also have to work on budget transparency. We have to think about engagement, feedback, and we have to use data to make informed decisions that drive us forward together. And my own career in public policy, engineering, and then my board service on policy governance boards, and a combined 6 years as PTA president at 2 different schools have uniquely prepared me for this role. I am the JCEA Teachers Union endorsed candidate. Along with Aaron Kenworthy, we are running on a slate. I would love for you to join us on this journey. Together we can empower our communities and lift each other up. It's for jeffcoschools.com. Thank you guys so much for your time and letting us visit with you today. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Erin Kenworthy, and I am a former educator and a current parent of 2 students in Jeffco County Schools. I have a 1st grader and a 6th grader, so we just all started middle school. I was a 9th grade world history teacher for 5 years in Maryland before I left the profession as a statistic for being undercompensated and overextended in my job. So I left public education, even though I come from a family of public educators. My great-grandfather, my grandparents, and both of my parents taught in public schools. So I have a long tradition of being in public schools, and I'm a huge supporter of public education. I'm excited to run with Michelle for our current school board. I've served on my kids' school accountability committees for the last 4 years. And I'm on my second year at the district accountability committee that I joined after working in our school because I wanted to make sure that students across Jeffco were having quality educational experiences like my kids are in the schools that they're in, and I wanted to see what was happening across the district. And so I joined that district accountability committee and have been learning about how our budget requires some attention, and also learning about how we support students now post-pandemic in particular, because their needs have changed, the world has changed and their needs have changed. I'm excited to work with fellow educators, people who are currently in the classroom, to hear what their concerns are and support them, and also to hear from our community members across the Jefferson County spectrum. We have Title I students in schools that need some additional attention and support. And we also have faced some difficult decisions recently with closing schools. And so we have to look at how we reuse those buildings. And that's going to require conversations with some of our municipal leaders about how we're going to best serve the needs of our communities. And I'm looking forward to some dialogue with our municipal leaders as well. I'm going to finish out here saying we would love to have your support. And you can find us at forjeffcoschools.com. Please reach out if you've got questions or you need any input. Thanks so much. Is Amara Hildebrand here? Or Thomas Wick? Okay, next we're going to have reports from our action leader, Kathy with healthcare.
Okay, hi, I'm Kathy Blake, the APA Healthcare Action Team Leader. Our team advocates for a publicly financed, privately delivered, universal healthcare system in Colorado and nationwide. I'm going to share some information about the recent movie, Healing Us. Some people think that healthcare is a commodity or a consumer good. Healthcare in the United States is profit-driven. Large companies are acting in the best interests of their shareholders, as they should. But patients who, not on the patients who rely on them for care. The free market guy in the movie explained why healthcare is a market failure based on Adam Smith's 1776 Wealth of Nations book. I'm going to compare buying a car to receiving healthcare. Direct knowledge. Buy a car. I know what I want and I know what I can afford. Healthcare. I have to rely on the doctor's judgment on what I need. If doctors and hospitals have incentives to make more profit, they may violate their oath to benefit the public. 2, community interest. The car. I buy a car, it's a lemon. It only affects me. Healthcare. Getting good care affects the whole community. Oh, not just me. Okay, the other one, supply and demand. Usually demand is price goes down, more product is sold. But if I'm diabetic, doesn't work for healthcare. If I'm diabetic, I pay whatever price for insulin that's going to save my life. Otherwise, I don't need it. So in conclusion, healthcare is a public good, not a commodity. I would like our candidates to talk about how they would improve the health of American citizens. I have some flyers and I will, buyer beware was switching to private for-profit insurers, Medicare disadvantages, and I have some flyers about that. Our next team meeting is Saturday, October 21st on Zoom at 4 p.m. Thank you for your patience.
Next, we have anti-war Bruce.
Yeah, I'm not going to make a real report for the sense of time so we can spend more time on the forum, except I do want to point out that the Arvada taxpayers spend approximately $470 million on militarism, war, and defense. And it's a huge thing when you're considering your budget. Anyway, that's it.
Environmental team, Taylor.
Hi there, my name is Taylor Jardigan. I'm the environmental team lead. We try to think globally and act locally. And if you're interested, shoot us an email at apaenvteam, all one word, @gmail. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Taylor. Social connections, that's me. We've been talking about starting a book club or a podcast listening group. Because of the upcoming election, it's been nuts, so we're gonna try and start right after the election so we can focus our time on that. Okay? I think we are now ready for the forum, and I'll turn it over to Joyce. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Joyce Richardson, and I'm the head of the political action team. And this is kind of what we do. So we try to research and get the information out to our members and interested parties who are part of our website and our email list. And this is one of the things that we do every year, really. We have a forum of some kind of candidates. So this year, since it's an off election, we have the city council race. The way the forum is gonna work, each candidate gets 2 minutes to introduce themselves. Then they all got a question ahead of time, and they have 1.5 minutes to answer that one. And then we will take questions from the little baskets that people in the audience have put in. And then at the end, everybody gets 2 minutes again to summarize why you should vote for them. And first, pull the name out of the hat to determine who is going to go first to introduce themselves for 2 minutes. And it's Bob Loveridge, who is running for at large.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having these forums. It does help you understand our positions and what we're about, and hopefully we can garner your support of me. I am a native of Arvada. I was born here, raised here. My parents, when they moved to Arvada in 1953, Arvada was a big whopping 3,000 residents. And when I was in high school, we were up to 44,000. And 72nd was a dirt road, and they drove cattle down that road. So I've seen quite a bit of change. A lot of good, some not so good. But Arvada is a wonderful place to live. I have been highly involved in this community, as I recognize many of you out there. It's nice seeing you here. I have been in elected positions the last 26 years. I was on the Apex Park and Rec Board for 16. The last 10, I have been on the Arvada Fire Board, which I currently am still there. I just felt a need that we needed some leadership going forward here. So many were going off this city council without government experience. We're going to be a little shaky. We need people that have got that experience. And I can tell you, any board, it's hard to go on to within the first 4 years and really gain full traction. So I've got that experience. I just wish to take it to a different level. Did you say stop?
No, I said you got about 10 seconds left.
Oh, okay. I'll say it up front right now. My website is really hard to remember. If you can spell Arvada and Bob, and the easy way there is you spell backwards and you get Bob. But it's arvadaneedsbob.com. You can read a little bit more about me. Thank you.
Okay, and we are gonna just go right down the line and around the circle. So Shawna, you're next.
Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Shawna Ambrose, and I'm running for District 2. I never thought that when I was meeting up with Bruce a few years ago, because Rachel connected me to you, that I would be asking for your endorsement. So it's a little bit of a coming home, because I know Arvadans for Progressive Action have been working hard to get the kind of representation we need on city council and the projects done, and to endorse and get people like me on city council. So thank you so much for everything that you've done. And yes, I have 20 years of nonprofit experience. I started my public service in the military. I currently work for the Rainforest Action Network. I am a union leader there on the bargaining committee. And I have helped municipalities on the nonprofit side with a whole range of issues, starting with when I was working for Padres and Jóvenes Unidos, working on racism in the education system. And I also worked on immigration and sanctuary issues and helping towns being able to respond to federal overreach to stop ICE raids from coming into majority Latino communities. I have worked with election defenders, which was a program that was millions of dollars, hundreds of employees that we had to make pretty much overnight to mobilize thousands of volunteers for voter protection at polling locations, because people were not used to confronting white supremacists at the polls. So we designed a program to help voter protection folks be able to defend our democracy. And that's what I was doing before I started working at Rainforest Action Network. So I feel like I have a really broad ranges of experience and can really look at the city as a whole about what is the context that we need to develop, what are the different things we need to do, and you know, who are the best people to be able to lead us in those ways. I would love to have your vote and your endorsement. My website is shawnaforarvada.com.
Hey, Bob.
Hi, I'm Bob Fifer. I've been on city council the last 12 years as one of the at-large candidates, and I actually envisioned sunsetting and moving on, but I realized that there's a lot of issues still, specifically out west, and so I thought I decided to put my name out on District 4, which is western part of Arvada. There's a lot of issues out that way, and over the last 4 years since I've lived out there, I've learned that there's matters that are not always aware in the bigger part of the city. You know, it's 1,000 feet higher than Old Town. It's 5 degrees colder, and there's about 100-mile-per-hour winds faster than anywhere else in the city. I live in a place called Windelis. That's a nickname we've called it, and you cannot have. We put trash bags that fly out of the trash to get on the trees. We call it the Christmas decorations, but they're unique out there. You know, we had the Marshall Fire in our backyard, and that brought up a whole different other issue, an environmental issue we need to stay focused on. We have wildland fire planning that's going on, and I want to continue advocating for that. I also believe that there is transportation issues out there. We have lack of mass transit. We have lack of services, and sometimes the city doesn't always know what to do with out west. We also have a thing called metro districts. That's another form of government. It's between an HOA and the city council, and it's created a whole different layer of government and taxes that doesn't have the oversight that I feel it needs to have. The transparency is lacking, and the diversity in the community is also lacking. So I think I could bring something unique to the western part of Arvada and continue advocating. And with my institutional knowledge of the city over the last 12 years, I can continue connecting that historical perspective from 12 years ago. We've seen a lot of change, good change, some bad change. Well, we need to know why we did that change. And so therefore, I think I can be that voice and remind folks what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I hope to have your vote if you live out west.
John, you're next.
Thank you. I am John Mariott. I'm running for mayor. I'm in my 10th year on city council. And I'm really fortunate. I grew up here in this community and I've lived here my whole life. And have gone on to be very successful in lots and lots of ways. Not only am I financially successful, but I'm very, very successful both health-wise, athletically, socially, and all of these ways that I'm successful really go back to where I was raised, which is here. When I grew up, we had spectacular outdoor recreational opportunities. We have excellent economic climate where all can succeed. We had great schools. We had a safe community, a place where it was good for kids to grow up. And all these things really set the foundation for my success that I've had in my life. I'm running to bring those same foundational things to children who are here now, in adults who are here now, and children who aren't even here yet. I think, you know, having a foundation like I have allows you to reach your potential in lots of different ways, not only economically. I'm on my 10th year in city council. I was elected in 2013, re-elected in 2017, and re-elected in 2021. I have got to serve with Mayor Williams for 10 years, who I consider to be the best mayor in the metro area over that period of time. Mayor Williams understood that his primary job as mayor was to help the council be successful as a group, to make sure that everybody got to speak, that the group functioned well. And I intend to do that same thing as mayor of Arvada. That will be my number one job. Up to now, my number one job has been to make sure we get the policies right, but that's not the job of the mayor. That's the job of the rest of council. And I will look to the council to perform that function while I perform the function of helping the group serve together. So that's why I'm running and hoping to get your vote this fall.
Hey, Lauren.
Hi, everybody. I am Lauren Simpson. I'm the current councilwoman for District 2 and a colleague of John's on the Arvada City Council. I am also running for mayor and hope to have your vote this fall. The reason why I threw my hat in the ring is that, truth be told, Arvada is at a little bit of a generational precipice. We are simultaneously and very interestingly one of the oldest communities in the metro area and also one of the youngest. We have an aging in place senior population, and we also have an increase in young children, which is rare across the metro area, to which I know our school board candidates are keenly aware. And thank you guys for being here today with us. And so this is extraordinarily important to get right, because we have to be able to address the needs of two different extraordinarily diverse, but no less important either one, communities. And as a person who has both a disabled parent and a young child, a first grader at home, I am keenly aware of the unique needs of both of these communities. And frankly, truth be told, so much of their needs align. Everybody needs safe sidewalks to walk on. Everybody needs good parks that are accessible. Everybody needs businesses that they can go to enjoy, that are friendly to our community. And I know right now, every single person on this panel agrees with those values. And I want to thank everybody for being here today. Just as an FYI, guys, we have some really great candidates this election, and I really appreciate everybody for running. The reason why I decided to run for mayor is that same reason I got involved in politics 4 years ago, which all of you know. My career training is in diplomacy. I am trained to be able to bring people together, whatever their political ideals are, and be able to talk to them, to be able to listen to them, check myself at the door, and here, okay, time is up. I'm gonna take an extra second, sorry. And so I want to be able to do that as your mayor, to be able to keep Arvada one of the most high functioning city councils in the entire region, which benefits our city and our residents, all of you, extremely well. That's why I'm running, and that's why I hope to have your vote this time. Thank you.
Sure.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sharon Davis, and I am running for Arvada City Council at large. So I get to cover the entire city, much like the mayors. So it's been my great pleasure to be here at APA today and to be a member. It's been a fun ride with you folks, so thank you so much. I have been in Arvada for 20 years, so I've watched Arvada grow in different ways. As you can imagine, I experience a different Arvada than some people do, but it's been fun to be here, and I really enjoy the trails and the parks and the people and the shopping. And I think all of these things are very important, and we need to make sure that we have accessibility for everyone in the community, be they young or old. And I want to see some more diversity in Arvada, and I think we can do that. We're well on our way of being a diverse community, from, like Lauren said, from the old to the aging to the young, and it's been very interesting. As I door knock around the city, what I'm finding are the issues that folks are most concerned about are housing affordability, crime prevention, and responsible growth. People are seeing these things as very important and things that city council needs to address and maybe rein in and explode in some parts. Different areas in Arvada have different issues. Out west, we have soil stabilization, and in the east, we have infill and growth. So we as council people can help moderate some of those issues. I have 25 years of local government experience, so I want to bring that experience to Arvada. I used to work for Denver. I saw what we did right and I saw what we did poorly, and I want to make sure that we don't make those same mistakes here in Arvada. I'm Sharon Davis. You can get me at sharonforarvada.com or sharonforarvada@gmail.com. Thank you.
Very good. I'll see if I can follow up here at the end. Hi, everybody. I'm Michael P. Griffith. I'm running for District 2. I would certainly love to earn your support and your vote. I'm not asking for your endorsement, but I would love your partnership. I'd like to talk a little bit about what that means. I've been in the community now for quite a while. I moved up to Colorado after Hurricane Katrina. Many members of my family lost everything, and I wanted to get as high and as dry as I possibly could. So I found a home in Arvada. My wife moved up here with me. We both got married here, and we are proud to have 3 first-generation Arvadans under our roof. My youngest is 6 weeks old, so I'm also happy to be here. I had to make some arrangements. I'm sorry for the IT challenges there. But I love to get in front of groups like this. And I certainly appreciate everything that the Arvadans For Progressive Action does for the city and the community. So really, I could talk a lot about my portfolio background, things that I do. A lot of you already know me. I've seen a lot of you in our planning commission meetings, but there's kind of 2 pieces to what I could offer the city. One is my service. So as soon as I got to Arvada, I started serving the city in a volunteer capacity. That's on planning commission, that's on the board of adjustment, that's on the board of directors for the Old Town BID, sorry. I also chair the placemaking committee. So I have a lot of things that I do in a service capacity. I've been doing that since I got here. The other thing is my professional career. So in my career, it's all about placemaking. It's about people, it's about sustainability, and it's about finding a way to connect everyone in an equitable and responsible way to the environment. So that's infrastructure, placemaking. That's really, it's about building stronger communities. And right now, tonight, there are going to be people sleeping at home in their own apartments that are affordable, that actually exist, that I have designed, and I've taken part in that throughout my career. So in my service life, I've approved projects that improve the community. And in my professional life, I've actually installed and been a part of the implementation of things that impact the environment. Thank you. Please go to my website, Michael for Arvada, and thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. This is the question and answer portion of the forum. So 1.5 minutes for each question, and everyone gets to answer the question. Shawna will start first, and this is a question that everybody received ahead of time. It's really long, so I'm going to try to read it somewhat fast.
Are you going to read it before everyone answers?
Utah's proposed Uinta Basin Rail Project could result in a dramatic increase of the movement of hazardous materials on the Union Pacific line along the Colorado River and through Arvada. It is estimated the Uinta Basin project will quadruple the amount of hazardous materials transported by rail through Arvada, as up to a 5-mile-long oil train a day will move east through, up to 5 2-mile-long oil trains a day move east through our city. The proposed rail link project has the support of the local Ute tribe of the Uinta and Ouray Reservation and Utah lawmakers and has been approved by the Federal Surface Transportation Board, Bureau of Land Management, and U.S. Forest Service, but is currently on hold due to lawsuits filed by environmental groups and Eagle County. These efforts to block the project have the support of the cities of Glenwood Springs, Minter, Avon, Red Cliff, Vale, and the counties of Red, Boulder, Chaffee, Lake, and Pitkin. Colorado elected representatives, including Senators Bennett and Hickenlooper, and Representatives Pedersen, DeGette, Crow, and the Goose have also acted to oppose this project. What we want to know is, will you oppose this project or not? And give us your thoughts on the whole project. So Shawna, you're up.
Yeah, I would love to join those representatives in opposing the project. We've all heard about East Palestine and about how the brakes are not being updated on trains, how there's not enough worker power on the trains, and the train goes right through the middle of Arvada, very close to homes. And 10 years ago, an oil train like this derailed in Canada, and it was like 130-foot fireball went through the old town of this city and killed 100 people instantly. And so I cannot imagine anything like that happening in the middle of Old Town Arvada, but that's what we're risking when we agree to have 2-mile-long oil trains moving through the middle of our city. So I feel there's a real direct danger to this. I'm glad that this project has the free, prior, and informed consent of the indigenous nations to the area that the land is on. I think that is important because a lot of times tribes do not have, nations do not have the ability to be able to talk about it, but I don't think that we're in the fossil fuel crisis that we're in today because indigenous tribes have control over their fossil fuels, right? And so I think I am glad that all of those policymakers oppose this. I will join them until, you know, we have a solution to the fossil fuel crisis and the trains are actually safe to be transporting such hazardous materials.
Okay, Bob?
So, I mean, obviously, there's more to it. I mean, I don't want them coming through, and we have a school right next to that line as well. I forget there's a high school right below the hill there. Here's what I would say is, obviously, I don't like the idea the way it's being presented now. Obviously, I join in based on what's the information we have. But I will tell you that the state's already opposing it. I'd rather join in on the states opposing it because why? It solves two things for me. One, they're talking about creating commuter rails all the way to Craig, Colorado, and all the way to Grand Junction on that line. The state has already hired a USDOT attorney who's also an environmentalist attorney to represent getting a contract signed for the Moffett Tunnel for lease rights to put commuter rail through it. We're talking daily trains all the way to Craig and Grand Junction, and also from Pueblo up. There's 3 mountain rails that are being proposed by the governor. That is going to be probably the most impactful thing that will stop that. And part of that discussion is to shut those oil lines down because they're going to impact the commuter route. And so if we're going to try to address the I-70 issue, right, with all these cars just idling out there and get people out of cars into mass transit, that's why I bring up mass transit out west. We have an opportunity to create a stop in West Arvada, where the old ski train used to stop. And so why not seize the moment and get behind the governor's plan to get the mountain rails going to do a double impact, get the commuter rails going out there and then stop the oil trains. It's that easy. It sounds easy. Never said and done. If I was a genie, it would be easy.
Yeah. Okay, John?
So my answer is no. I would not join in to try to stop this as a local elected official, and here's why. We have zero power, zero standing by which to do anything. My weighing in on it would be no different than me weighing in as an individual. You know, the folks who should be dealing with this are railroads are regulated federally. They answer to Congress, and our congressional delegation is looking at this issue and taking what they believe to be appropriate action. And additional action by the city of Arvada would be meaningless. I would much prefer that we in the city of Arvada take action on the things that we actually can control. Things like taking care of our transportation network, things like putting our roads in good shape. Those are things we actually have jurisdiction over, things we actually can affect. So as far as taking symbolic action as an elected person in Arvada, I'm not big on symbolic actions. I'd much rather do real things. And so for me, I would absolutely not.
Right, Lauren?
Councilman Fifer actually had an excellent answer. Thank you for all that, Bob. He's Director of Operations for CDOT, so he's Mr. Transportation over there. And we're very glad to have his expertise on council. So he's exactly right that there's a lot of issues that we can work on and to prove transportation availability through the trains for residents. And in addition, Mr. Mariott is also correct that there is a lot of difficulty that we as Arvada have to basically make the railroads do everything. This is a constant battle for us in order to make the railroads do anything, because frankly, they are regulated federally, and we ask, please, we don't really have any authority over them. So my solution to this would be, okay, fine, let's take a stand against, and yes, I would take a stand against. But let's also contribute to the things where we do have power in order to try and mitigate and create solutions. Let's finish 72nd and get these trains going through faster so that we don't have road holds up. God forbid anything ever happens, let's make sure that these trains are not in Arvada when it does happen. And I'm not saying anything ever will happen, but what we can do is control our local infrastructure to try and improve the situation here on the ground to protect our residents right now, while contributing to the state and federal efforts to try and make sure that nothing ever happens to begin with.
Sharon?
Yes, I would symbolically oppose this measure, but I also think that we can work together with the feds to make rail safety stronger, to get that infrastructure fixed so that we don't have an East Palestine, so that we don't have these derailments of chlorine gas cars. Because believe me, chlorine gas is also passing through Arvada on a daily basis, because that's what we use to disinfect drinking water that we all are enjoying today. So it's not just this deadly oil that's going through that may or may not cause an accident. We do have other hazmat going, or hazardous materials and whatnot going through the city. So we really need to shore up our rail system to make sure that these things don't happen, and shore up our infrastructure so we don't have these long waits at any of the rails.
I'm waiting to queue. Yeah, no, this is easy. I saw Aaron Brockovich, I'm not looking to find somebody to investigate some chemical spill in Arvada. That, we don't need that. This is easy for me. Absolutely would oppose this. I'd oppose it publicly. I think the important thing to understand here is, with or without this project that's happening in Utah that has these extension arms that can affect us, there are cars coming through, as my colleague just said, every day in our city that could potentially lead to a spill. John's right, though. This is a federally controlled corridor. So we have to find ways to both tell people what we're about and be firm on those points, and then look for other opportunities that are right in our face. So if we want to impact our climate footprint, our carbon footprint, if we want to start affecting the efficiency that we use to get around the city, or the air quality, we need to look at infrastructure. So this is something I'm doing right now. Remember I said I wanted your partnership. So in my professional capacity, I'm currently project managing the largest transportation study that the city has ever done. And we're looking at the infrastructure related to our traffic lights. Right now, our traffic lights are based on a single mechanism timer at the base of the light. They're not connected. They're not smart. If we make that major change to our infrastructure, and it's not free, I have ways of funding that though, we could save up to 1/3 of our emissions footprint just by something like that. So I want to make sure we're clear on our goals and our morals and our views, but we understand what we can do right here at home. And that's what I do on council.
Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I can tell you, in my wheelhouse at the Arvada Fire District, we are not, we've not been aware of this proposal coming through. And that's concerning in many ways. But I can tell you the Arvada Fire is very well trained if there was an incident, but we don't want that. But that is, as others have said, we have many of these hazardous material trains, both lines in Arvada coming through this town every day, plus all of the trucks that we have carrying hazardous materials coming through. So there are definitely concerns each and every day. But we are dealing with the railroad, and I've heard people suggest that the railroad has more power than the federal government, and even maybe God.
Yeah.
But is there something we can do? I will be on it. It's like when I realized all of south of Highway 72 was not in any fire protection. it concerned me to no end, and I started getting very talkative about it. And particularly about one was Great Western Inorganics. They were out there operating without any fire department protecting them. And secondly, no fire department doing inspections. But we have brought them in and they are fully compliant.
Thank you for your answers. I am gonna start taking questions out of our little baskets here, and the first one was about housing, and they are somewhat similar, so I'm gonna try and meld them together here. And Bob will go first on this one. How will you ensure housing diversity across Arvada, not just in Southeast Arvada? And please explain, in light of campaign donations that you've received from large developers like Church Ranch and Remington Homes. And the other question was, what is your policy on taking donations from developers who do business in Arvada? So I think the developer question and also the inclusivity of the whole town on housing. So take it away, Bob.
I don't take any money from developers, so that doesn't apply to me.
And if you would speak up to.
Yeah, sorry, I don't accept any funds from developers or any of that sort. My financials, everyone can look at those. All of our financials are online. As far as housing, I think we've done a really good job. We can always do more, obviously. I think we've done a really good job at least trying to get the conversation around affordable housing on the plate. I mean, before, I don't think we've really had affordable housing or units even 10 years ago. I mean, in our senior living, absolutely there's some here, but some of the others that we need to hit the whole cross section of our community did not exist. And now it is existing, it is showing up. What I hope to see is it does go across the board. And here's why I say it, you know, my son works in mental health. He has his master's degree, he's $100,000 in debt. My city council check subsidizes his living so he can at least live in a decent place somewhere. So I hope that we can continue to find, you know, places throughout the city where folks can live in our community. My son can live in my community with me and all over the city. I mean, the issue becomes is, where is the city's role? And I don't have enough time to talk about it, but what is the city's role in that conversation? Is it deeding land? Is it tap fees being waived? There's so many different things to consider creating the cost of the housing to go down or up. And it's a very complex issue. And if I had more time, I'd love to discuss that.
Don?
So I've taken campaign donations from lots of people, including developers as well as individuals and businesses and all kinds of people, because there are lots of people who support local government, and I'm certainly a beneficiary of those, as have others been. When you talk about housing and diversity of housing, we have a huge diversity of housing problem here in Arvada. And I got news for you, we cannot subsidize our way out. In my time on council, we have done a really good job of cooperating with every developer who has brought forth subsidized housing projects. We've done everything from giving free land to Habitat for Humanity and others to cooperating with people who bring LIHTC funding. But that's a very small piece of the puzzle and not the solution to a housing affordability problem. Our housing affordability problem is a supply problem. Particularly, it's a supply problem of condominiums, of multifamily condominiums that can be purchased. You know, as I drive down 58th Avenue by the old Kmart, I see the new apartments being built there, and I can't help but lament that wouldn't things be better for all of us if those were condominiums? Well, the reason they're not is because of the construction defects environment that we have in Colorado. And our state legislators have fallen down on the job. They have absolutely done a terrible job addressing this very well-known, very addressable thing that the state has. There is a reason why a tiny little fraction of the housing built these days is condominiums, and it's that and that only. And it can be addressed, just not by local government. It may only be addressed.
So So this is an issue that's of great concern for mine. Since I came on the council 4 years ago, council has either preserved or approved new roughly 700 units of AMI adjusted or area median income adjusted housing. Everything from hard to house homeless with services wrapped around all the way up to $70,000-$80,000 a year income rents. So that's exciting, but frankly, it's not enough. I actually agree that we need to do more with condominiums. This has been a huge pet issue of mine. And thankfully, our state senator, Rachel Zenzinger, is working on legislation to fix this issue now. And so I plan to work with Rachel, and I plan to work with Shannon Bird of Westminster, who is going to run in the House this kind of legislation to actually make sure it gets through. Because one of the key reasons why I was opposed to Senate Bill 213, which was the land use issue, was because it did not fix the condominium issue. And we need ownership opportunities for young residents. In terms of accepting development dollars, I do not accept development dollars. My campaign so far has been 100% funded by small donors. And so I don't believe that it does influence votes. However, it's a public perception thing. When I was still running for re-election, a major developer in Arvada approached me and offered me money, and I declined. I straight up declined, and I said, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate that vote of support. However, it's about the public perception. And that's more important to me because the public's perception of our integrity and how our votes are going cannot be influenced, whether it's influenced or not. It's about that perception, and we need to focus on that.
Cowbells break.
Yeah, yeah. It's me today and not you. It was you last time.
Last forum, I got the cowbell.
Yeah.
But it goes too far.
Cowbell's back.
So I think that, no, I do not take any, developer money. I don't think they know I exist. So that's been yeah, and that's fine. It's all been small donors. I did, just recently get the Arvada firefighters endorsement. So, I think they're one of my largest, contributors, but I think that one of the things that government can help do, especially in Arvada, is remove the stigma of affordable housing. Every time I talk about affordable housing or housing affordability in Arvada, everyone immediately goes to Section 8 and crime. And that's not true. We're talking about teachers. We're talking about those folks who graduate from Red Rocks Community College. Those are people we want to be our neighbors, but can't afford to be our neighbors. So what can we do? Things that are developments like Windellas. I walked in Windellas and I saw that there were some single-story homes. So some of those housing stock can be diverse, where we have $400,000, $500,000 homes back there with the $1.2 million. And guess what? It's not going to be Sharon Davis, crack woman living next to you, because I can't get that mortgage. It's going to be a professional. So, you knew what I was gonna say. I said it too.
We're here.
I have to follow that up.
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay for these things to be fun and have a couple of laughs here and there. All right, so I'll answer the question about the money first. So I have taken money from a lot of people that live in the city in District 2 and from a lot of businesses, and some of those businesses have development arms. That is absolutely true. So I don't know why they're giving me their money, but I will tell you this because most of you have seen me in these planning commissions meetings over the last 7 years, reject projects from each and every one of them. So I have no idea why they would like to give me money after I reject their projects. I have a hunch that they think that I might know what I'm doing. So one of the things I'd like to ask you rhetorically is, who develops affordable housing? Developers. So you have no idea how to work with developers or what their hurdles are to bringing affordable housing to market. How do you expect the affordable housing to come into existence? You have to understand the financial thresholds and barriers that are in place that make products like affordable housing naturally occurring and subsidized from existing in our community in the first place. And this is something I could bring to city council specifically. I know how to work directly with the city manager's office. I know how to work with the community development office. I know how to work with a lot of the different offices within the city to try and figure out from a staff level standpoint, What policies are hurting the environment for the developers to bringing these things to market? That means you have to create an ecosystem that supports the type of products you'd like to see in the city. If you don't do that, it doesn't matter how much you tell them they have to, they'll just go elsewhere. Denver has this issue now. They made a requirement for 10% and the housing market collapsed. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I have taken donations from many, many sources. And some are developers, but there are ones that I have worked with in particularly helping us get the Camp Dallas Fire Station placed, getting property there, and getting it built to where we have great protection out in that area now. I have not gotten tons and tons of it from developers. My money comes from many sources. Even the Denver Realtors Association has endorsed me because they recognize I'm going to be doing things that will help benefit the real estate here in Arvada. And we do need to bring affordable housing here. I echo the same things as many have been saying about the condominiums problem, the construction defects. That has frustrated me for a long time. We also, I think, need to look at how fast we're getting these projects looked at and through our system. We need to have a look at our land use code. Is it what we want to help bring this affordable housing that we're talking about? There's many avenues that we need to be looking at, development fees, but there is so much we can do to help encourage this, and that's things I intend to do.
Thank you. I don't have any donations from realtors or development organizations. In fact, I am not endorsed by the realtor organizations. And I think that's because they didn't like a lot of the answers that I had to give them about affordable housing. And I think the campaign finance issue is actually a really big issue. If you look at some of these people who are sitting at the table today, you will see the same address for a development office in Centennial, but 5 different LLC names. And those are considered individual entities that were formed when different development projects were formed, all maxing out. And it seems like a subversion of the campaign finance law for what the fairness was supposed to be, which was an individual entity. So I encourage you to look at people's financial records from all the times they've run to see who is accepting that kind of money and who is standing on principle of saying like, nope, I don't roll that way, because I think it is an integrity issue. On the affordable housing, I really think that this organization is doing great forming a housing advisory committee. Unfortunately, people in this room have had to become policy experts on housing because of how our government has failed to provide, and not just affordable housing. I'm talking about nurses who make $120,000. I'm talking about the celery farmers in Arvada, the 8th generation Arvadan. My neighbor is moving to South Carolina. You know, like regular Arvadans are getting squeezed out because of all this market rate housing that developers tell us they need to develop in order to fit their profit margins. And I feel like city council should be the objective check to say, actually, how does this development benefit Arvada?
Do we have anything from chat or anybody? No. All right. The next question is a health question, and John will start. What would you do to help improve the health of Arvada citizens?
Love this question. Thank you for asking this. So, as a parent, we help our children many ways. And one of the most important things you do as a parent is you set a really good example. I think as elected leaders, we can and do the same. I have always set a really good example and will continue to do that. I believe that, daily exercise and that a life lived of activity are the cornerstones of good health and happiness for not only individuals, but a community. And as those of you who know me know, I exercise daily. I interact with the community daily in all kinds of different ways and advocate strongly for our parks, our outdoor spaces, and cooperation with our rec district, which all of these things set a really good example that provide one of the cornerstones for health within the community. I think the other part of health within the community is social health. And I think social health within the community is equally as important, and I think we can set a great example of that too, by being available, putting in the time it takes to be good at this job, and participating in all the things that come with this great community. And I've always done that my whole time on council, and absolutely will continue to do that as mayor.
All right, perfect. So thank you for this question. As elected officials, obviously, we can only do so much about the choices that people make inside their own homes. We all obviously hope people will make great choices, but the reality is not everyone does. But what we can do is make it easy for people to make good choices. We can improve transportation solutions, particularly public transportation, so that we can alleviate cars on the road. I myself, along with Mr. Fifer, took the trash hauling vote, which helped reduce the significant number of trash trucks on our roads. And I can tell you, I had numerous, not one, not two, numerous calls about people who said, I have asthma, I have COPD. These trash trucks park in front of my house and they sit there because they're on their lunch break, and that impacts my lung quality, and that's difficult. So these are the small little tweaks, if you will, that we can make to help our residents have a healthier, cleaner environment. Investing in sustainable climate solutions, disaster resiliency solutions helps the health of our residents in the long term, particularly my child and all the children and grandchildren of Arvada for their future, because it's not just about today, it's about tomorrow too. And then again, working with our school partners to make sure that they have what they need to supply our kids with social emotional learning. I myself have done charity drives to help with backpacks, with access to back to school, new clothes, new shoes, all the things that make sure our kids have a good psychological start to their school year. It's a very broad issue, and it covers a lot of aspects. Thank you.
So a healthy community is more than just our physical health, it's our mental health as well. And so it's really important that we get out and get together. And Neighbors Connected program that is part of the Arvada PD program is an excellent way for our neighbors to connect socially and to socialize and support one another and build a safe community. So those are the things that I would like to see. I love our continued partnership with the Apex Parks and Rec District. That has been really good. Getting people to those recreation sites would be even better. So we can improve our transportation that way. But I really like things like snow buddies, because snow buddies makes people get out and talk to one another and you meet your neighbor. I loved knocking doors. I could not believe how friendly and compassionate everybody was at the doors. They really thought about their neighbors, not just their neighbors in their neighborhood, but in the neighborhood past theirs. So I think that we could have safe neighborhoods, healthy neighborhoods, making sure homes are safe, making sure that everybody has some an economic background that is positive. I think we are well on our way in Arvada to having one of the safest and healthiest communities.
So in the urban design space professionally where I operate, there's been a lot of research into what's called the happy city movement or the happy healthy city movement. And what's fascinating is they look at a number of different things. They look at people, but they've also looked at some of these studies from lab rats in the 1970s with MIT, where they gave the mice an option. One bottle was just water. The other bottle had some recreational drug in it. And if you put the mice in an enclosed area with nothing to do, they all just got drunk all day and eventually died. If you put the mice in a cage that had the little wheels, that had some things to play with, they naturally chose the water that was untainted. And what the Happy City movement looks at something simple like that and applies those principles to a city like Arvada, it says that we need parks. We have them, that's great. But they need to be accessible. For the most part, they are, but they could be better. And it says that we need an interconnected web of communities where everyone feels welcome. And that's a key piece that I think I'd like to work on whenever I get on council. One of the things I mentioned earlier is I'm working on the transportation plan, and a part of that is interconnectivity for ADA, so disabilities, and also bike network between parks and open space. So I would advocate for filling out our trails network and making sure projects like what we have in Old Town Arvada are prioritized so that we understand the impact of a more walkable urban center within our city, and not just in Old Town. We could do that in other places too. Thank you.
All right, so the first time that I lost my mind and decided to run for elected office was for the North Jeffco Parks and Rec District. And back then, we were really in bad shape for parks. Well, parks were doing okay, but our recreation was terrible. And getting on there, I was able to get things moving to where we were able to develop the Apex Center. We brought on over 100 new ball fields, the field house down at Stanger, the pickleball courts up at 82nd and Sims, and also the Sims Street Center, the community center, and reworked some of our pools and set the stage for the other projects that have come since I've been off there. Well, after that, I went on to the Arvada fire. One of the big concerns I had was how we were responding to mental health issues. We were doing a terrible job. All we could do is put someone on a mental hold for 72 hours, take them to the hospital. Today, we have the STAR program, which I've been talking to the chief about for 8 years. It is our co-responder for mental health. We have opportunities to get the help that they truly need, not just haul them to the hospital. They're out working with our homeless people, convincing them that they can help them with their problems. And we're getting a lot of responses back of thank you for how I was handled. And so often I see they saved my life.
This is one of the issues that it's really important to me that I am running as the District 2 candidate, because there are huge health disparities in what healthiness means between West Arvada and East Arvada. It seems like West Arvada wants a lot of access to parks and bike trails, and East Arvada doesn't want to be breathing in fumes all day, right? And so I think there needs to be a lot more investment from the city into East Arvada, looking at community health outcomes. One of the most crucial places that this needs to happen is at our schools, making sure there's wraparound services at schools, because schools are an entryway into people's lives that normally do not seek out government services. And so they just kind of go without. So really working with our school system to make sure that not only are there wraparound services for the kids to get like health, haircuts and dental care, but they're for their families who feel like they can't afford it, to make sure that they're getting adequate nutrition and being educated about adequate nutrition in their own families and neighborhoods. So when I'm on city council, I will be looking really closely at the health disparities and what causes those health disparities across Arvada, and pushing for investment into East Arvada so that these people there have just as long of, or us living there have just as long quality of life as West Arvada does.
I agree with almost everything everyone said here. I think that they're all valid and they're all issues we deal with every day in council currently. And the whole having 10, a park within 10 minutes of every home is still a goal that's really crucially important to the city. And we're one of the few cities that even have that. Now we got to make sure we have safe trails and accessibility and bike routes to these locations. But one thing that I found to be really good for a community, a health of a community, let's look at a different dimension of that, is really creating a sense of place. Creating a place where folks can get together and solve issues around a table, or have a drink, or have dinner, or pull family back together. You find little pockets of them happening in different developments now. Yes, Condell's has a few of them. Five Parks does. There's potentially a newer one down on Indiana. And we're finding that these coexisting of small businesses, boutique, and diverse housing all coming together in a community has created a sense of community where it's healthy. It's just plain out healthy. And people are walking, so they're physically healthy, they're mentally healthy, and they're engaged. We also got to be challenging our community to do more, and to be involved. It's interesting, when I didn't run for years and years when I lived in Lake Arbor and down on Ward Road. And when I moved out to Candelas, I found that the trails were really nice and it's open out there, and you're right, it's different air, it's higher altitude, but it's thinner. But I find myself running now. I run all the time and I enjoy being outside, and that needs to be equitable throughout the entire city.
Thank you. All right, Lauren will be next on this one, and I think this will probably be our last question before wrap up. Tell us about your plans to lessen climate change in Arvada. And before you start, I do want to say, if your question did not get asked, if you would make sure you give me your email address, I will make sure all of the candidates get that question. Okay, Lauren.
So climate change obviously is a global issue. However, I do believe municipalities have a significant role to play because only by working our tiny little part, right, can we begin to make traction on the much larger issue. So Arvada is already looking at certain solutions such as greening our fleets, certain infrastructure solutions about how we build more sustainably, and this is incredibly important. I also believe that we need to be looking how we plan our parks, our medians, our green spaces, our open spaces more sustainably. I really like the work that our Parks Director, Dr. Anessa James, has been doing in terms of investing in native grasses, native trees, native plants and bushes in order to be able to improve our drought resilience and our water tolerance, as well as just simply put, these are the plants that belong here all along. And they're the ones that do well in this climate. So we need to be thinking about that. We should also be looking at how we help our residents make these small but significant changes when they add up. We do garden in a box here in the city. I look forward to continuing that. I would love to elevate that. We've done trash hauling, obviously not to come back to that, but that was a fairly important to increase the availability of recycling amongst our city. And I would look at composting solutions. I believe we need to work with our neighboring cities in order to be able to provide composting solutions that are affordable, because right now we don't have that availability.
I would hope that we would stop paving every square inch of Arvada. That is going to help a lot. I used to work for the city of Federal Heights. Federal Heights, 1.75 square miles of pure heaven. And they had a church there that came to the city and said, hey, we have a parking lot. You're making us build a parking lot that is like for the Christmas service. Well, that's great. But for 90% of the year, we don't use that. So we would like to install a permeable surface that will help cool the air and doesn't off-gas like a bunch of asphalt. Holy moly, that was the 90s. Federal Heights City Council approved it. It's still in operation today. So I know that there are solutions that we can partner with private and nonprofit to make the city cooler. Mobile sources are the number one polluters in our city. So improving the traffic lighting, getting better transit out in the Northwest, having trains move around the city, wouldn't that be fun? Those are some solutions that city council can work on and work with the public and private sector to make our city less impactful on the greenhouse gas.
Okay, I promise I don't have a story about a science experiment for this one.
No.
Well, I have one, but no. So a couple of things here. So one of the hats that I wear in my professional career is I'm a LEED accredited professional. So leaders in environmental design and sustainability. One of the things that I've done with that credential is actually lead and manage the South Sloan's Lake project. So if you've been to the Alamo Draft House on right next to Sloan's Lake there on Colfax, that's a 9-block development that used to be a hospital. And now it's the highest scoring gold LEED ND development in the state. It also has 20% affordable housing and a slew of other things that benefit the community. And the community supported it too, which is a big deal. So one of the things that I would do on city council is I would take the knowledge that it takes to make a project like that come to fruition, a real project, not just something we talk about. I would bring that to Lori Gillis's desk. I would talk to the city manager's office and say, look, on day one, I want to know what we can do as a strategic priority within the city to make sure that projects that are LEED accredited or have other sustainability certifications have an easier way or route to getting their projects approved. There's a couple of ways to do that, and I can talk about them in more detail if you want outside. But I think it's important we do that. The other thing I would do is advocate for an intense canopy program within the city. One of the things I'm known for in the metro area is canopy restoration in urban areas. When you drive from central Arvada all the way into downtown where I've heard, there's a temperature differential of 5 to 8 degrees. And that's the urban heat island effect. We want to make sure we mitigate that before it becomes a bigger issue in Arvada. Thank you.
Well, I'm all for the canopy thing. My house, I have 5 large trees that I'm concerned about getting to the end of their life, so we might want to talk.
No problem.
And you're right. This morning, I live central Arvada. When I left at 8 o'clock this morning, it was 40 degrees. When I got out to Candelas, it was 48 degrees, so it is warmer. I thought you said it was colder.
The sun was coming up.
But we live in a great creation here. And then we have that stewardship of taking care of this great planet that we live on. There's many things that we can do to watch and be very concerned about how we go about it and take care of that. In my business, I'm one who loves technology and I see so many things that are fun. I've been doing solar roofs for a number of years. And it's a way cool thing, but I'm sick and tired of how Excel is resisting this type of thing. And I think we can put a little pressure from city council on Excel, maybe. I think they're up there with the railroads some days. But we need to get their attitudes changed with this.
Yeah, I think this is one of the strengths I have in thinking about, this is a really big issue. How does it apply to everyday Arvadans? And there's 2 parts of it. It's conserving our resources, reducing our uses, cutting our emissions, and all of those things. But the other part is actually preparing for a climate disaster future. Marshall Fire is just the beginning. Like, we are gonna have more fires, we're gonna have more floods, we're gonna have more extreme heat and extreme cold. How are we preparing the city for this climate future? And I think that takes more of like a synthesis of thinking about what does the whole city need in order to be prepared. And so what I would like to do is access funds from the Environmental Protection Agency to create a climate plan for Arvada in participation with the Metro Denver District's climate plan. Once we have that, then we can apply for funds from the Inflation Reduction Act, because that has infrastructure money to do just what we need, update our infrastructure to be climate resilient. So our water treatment plant, our roads, everything having to do with our infrastructure will be ready for a climate future and be funded. But this requires a lot of extra effort on city council to be able to find these sources of money and implement these ideas. The state last year passed $4 million per year for municipalities to change out their turf. I'd like to expand the program we have with Garden in the Box with people who are homebound and want to change over their landscapes, but they can't afford it and they can't get out there and do it. So how can we access some of that state money to be able to help Arvadans at home? And that's the kind of leadership I'll have on council.
One of the things I really enjoy out west is the city really pushed on the builders out there that only 50% of your property can have turf. The other 50% has to be kind of zero-scaped, which has really reduced that footprint. And I really appreciate that. And that kind of attracted our family to move all out there. I have family live within a mile, multiple houses, and the water consumption was a concern, and they really too take that to heart. And I think we need to look at that a little bit more broadly in the city and encourage the conversion, because there's a lot of turf out there who wants something green, but a lot of people are just xeriscaping. There's something to be said with it, and pollinators and so forth. And in fact, I've been looking at that and had a whole pollinating garden in the back of my house. And so, it's culture. We have to change the culture in society to look at things differently. The other thing is open space. I want to preserve open space. We don't do enough around that. All the 12 years I've been, I just don't feel like we've done extra open space, like truly preserving for wildlife and for, just for our mental state to go explore an open space. And as well as the biggest thing I've always complained about, and I was waiting for an opportunity to do it, is we don't have buses. And we have 2 routes here, and the council knows I complain about this all the time. We're the 5th largest city, and only have 2 routes in this whole city. We have 125,000 people, and RTD cannot get off there, and get us a freaking bus. I mean, that's just boiling. They know how pissed I'm about it, because I can tell you how many people would actually ride it out west and pay for it, not needing it subsidized, and it would be funding other parts of the city. First and last mile, we didn't need to do that too. We should just do our own.
Yeah, it's true. He talks about it all the time.
It just makes me mad, 'cause I pay taxes and I don't have a bus service.
Good job.
So as mayor, I would continue to do what the city has done over the last couple decades, which is follow all the best practices that are available to an organization like the city. Things like, our fleet. We have professionals who manage our fleet and who will continue to manage our fleet to the best outcomes, including those that are sustainable. But in addition to that, I would, as mayor, we have a louder voice to advocate regionally. And a couple of the things that I think are very important for us to advocate for regionally is turf removal programs. And to make those an option for people. Aurora currently has both a very restricted turf program for new builds, but they also have a very good program that allows those who choose some help in doing turf removal. And I think we should participate a bit more in that. The other thing that we've done on council in my time on council, and I was a big advocate for this, is we've allowed other powered mobility devices throughout the city in much more places, especially earlier than lots of cities do. And it's become more commonplace now that you see people on e-bikes and on electric skateboards and on all kinds of different devices that are much better at moving people around short distances than a single occupancy car is. I believe we've also are just scratching the surface of that. I believe the coming decades are going to bring a whole new slew of mobility solutions and mobility devices. And as mayor, I will be advocating that we quickly adopt those things, allow them to be used, integrate them into our system, and give Arvada residents the option to use these things that are both better for them and better for the environment.
Thank you for the answers to your questions. Again, if you did not get your question asked, please see me and I'll give your email address and get it to everybody, and I hope you will all answer. Now you have 2 minutes to make your case and wrap your statements up, and we'll start with Sharon.
Okay. Hello, I'm Sharon Davis and I'm running for Arvada City Council at Loveridge. And I am very excited about being your representative on council. I am going from border to border, north, south, east, and west. And I've walked and spoken to a lot of you. I knocked on doors and was surprised when I saw a friendly face when I answered the door. It's always very exciting to get to know my neighbors. This is a passion for me to give back and have service to community. It's very important to me. It's something that was instilled in me by my father. He was a veteran of Korea and Vietnam, and then when he retired, he became a minister, much to everyone's surprise. But I really enjoyed public service. Like I said, I have 25 years of local government experience. And who was the most important was the public, along with the employees. It was a really great nexus to work with everyone. So I am here to listen to you and to do your bidding and serve you, the citizens and residents of Arvada. And I will do that to the best of my ability. And I'm always open for suggestions and any additional information you want to give me. I am at sharonforarvada@gmail.com. sharonforarvada.com is my web address. And I am asking you for your vote and your support. Thank you so much for having me this evening. It's been a lot of fun, and thanks to the rest of the panelists. This has been a great time.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michael P. Griffith, and I'm running for City Council in District 2. I've enjoyed telling you about me and about my platform, but most of you already know me or have heard of me or have seen me advocate for the community over the last 7 years. What I'd really like to say here is, once again, I'm looking for your partnership. I think it's a big job to represent an entire district. It's a big job to take on the responsibilities of City Council. And I think it's important to consider the folks that have been living here for quite a while, that have been volunteering for you, and have been working in different capacities all throughout that time. My background, my expertise, what I have to lend the community, that's all been on display now for almost 10 years. And I'm gonna continue doing those things with or without getting on city council, because I believe in this community. And I've taken some time to get to know your organization. I read through your website. I'm really excited that this has been going on now since 2016, you've been president. And I think that you agree that a lot of the things that I'm talking about are the practical application of the things that you're trying to get done and the values that you express on your website. I'd like to partner with you and get to know you more. And I'd like to take all the collective knowledge that you've put into these efforts and put that to work for the city of Arvada on council with practical experience. You can touch the projects that I've impacted. You can go talk to the people that live in communities where these projects exist today. I'm not just telling you what you want to hear. I'm telling you who I am and what I've done. Thank you.
Well, thank you again for being here. And I appreciate all those that have put effort in putting this on tonight. I know it takes work and effort, and it's beneficial to many people, I'm sure. I am running because I love helping people. That started when I was in high school. I was crazy. I didn't play the high school sports. I was a ski instructor and they wouldn't let me go skiing and play football and wrestling. But I had a real unique opportunity come up and I just thought it sounded cool, and that was to be able to teach the blind. And I had my first student was a 12-year-old boy that was a real challenge. And I worked with him and we found ways to get him skiing and enjoying things to where he was finally passing his classes. And it was such a joy, and I realized how important it is to find ways of helping people. And I love people. I care about people. I care about my community. I wouldn't have hung around here if I didn't love this community. When I started with Apex, we had a lot of challenges to do. While I was there, we became not once, but twice a gold medallion winner, which is the National Park and Recreation's recognition for the most outstanding district, Park and Rec district in the nation. On this fire board, we have risen to being in the top 100 ranked fire departments in the country, and there's only about 45,000 out there in competition with it. We've got an excellent fire department doing superior work, and we should be proud of those. Those are the types of things that I like to bring to our community. We want to be the best, and I have a proven record of helping that happen, and I want to make sure that continues in this great city. Boy. I used to do road rallying, and the key was to come in on time. That was it.
First time for Bob.
Well, I'm running for city council because I was asked to run by community leaders, some of whom are in this room. And I think that's because people understand here that being on city council is about two things: leadership and crafting policy for city employees to act out on. And that's what I have experience in doing. I don't believe that if you are narrowed by jurisdiction on city government, that you should sit back and say, well, that's not our purview. I think that you can go to the Department of Transportation and talk to their municipal representative and get them to pass that railroad plan that you need. And you can work with your representatives. I think that if you are homeless in Arvada and you're Arvadan, that no, the city government is not going to become a social services agency, but we will find the agencies that can help you. And we will organize the resources, because that is what leaders do. And that's the leadership that I am bringing to city council. And that is the leadership I have had in my entire public service. And I think one of the key issues with Arvada is how much we are developed past our infrastructure. We have so much congestion on our roads. We have stresses on our infrastructure that needs $191 million worth of improvements from deferred maintenance to capital improvement projects, and yet we keep on approving more and more people coming without funding. How are we going to get these infrastructure projects updated? And at the same time, all these things are being built, and nurses who make $120,000. My mom, who just retired at 60 years old, still lives with me because we can't afford a place to live. Not just the affordable housing that you have to qualify for, not millionaires at all the super expensive stuff that's getting built, just regular Arvadans that are getting pushed out. Teachers who can't afford to live here, nurses who can't afford to live here. And while that is a national phenomenon, we can be leaders in city council to make sure that we help Arvadans deal with these trends and actually exhibit leadership to resolve the challenges that are facing us.
Great. Yes.
Other than marrying my wife and having my kids, the best thing that's ever happened to me is my wife making me move here to marry her. That was over 22 years ago. And, I didn't know what was special about Arvada, and some of those in this room have been here a while and know how special this community is. And, a few years later, my wife and I were sleep deprived at 3 a.m. in Old Town with our identical twin boys. They were 1 year old. And we decided to open a toy store in Old Town back in 2007. And we survived through the Great Recession, and we were probably delirious because we were raising twin boys at a very young age, and we were just busy folks. But I really saw that Arvada is starting to change from an antique store, very sleepy Old Town, which was really unique and it was nice, to a very vibrant where we are today, and seeing it change, and the diversity and the inclusivity has changed, and the needs of the community have changed. And going on this journey and this path as seeing our community change has been very important. I think I need to continue that. I need to, keep advocating for the diversity and keep advocating for change and representing those that are not represented, and also represent unique needs. The city is completely different than it was 11 years ago. I remember we didn't have advocacy groups like this one. APA was not around. Arvada for Social Justice wasn't around. There's other groups that were not around, and we relied on individual conversations versus talking to folks like this and having advocacy group be very interested in their community. I have a 5-generation family here. My wife's side of the family is 5-generation. What we like about it is we always live together. We all lived in Lake Arbor, and we can walk to each other's house, and we moved down south, and then we get older, and we bought into those super homes, which has a house for our elderly grandparents that is attached to my in-laws, and we can all take care of each other like a little village. And that's what makes Arvada unique. I want to keep that, and I want to keep advocating for that. Thank you. Bob Fifer, BobFifer.com. Easy.
Let me know when you're done.
Yeah.
So this is a unique time in Arvada, in my time growing up here and paying attention. We're about to face something very different than we've faced in a long time, and that's we're gonna have a very big changeover in our council. The conclusion of this election, we're gonna have at minimum 4 council members who have 2 years experience or less. We may very well have 5, and it's even possible we could have 6. And so, it's gonna be a very different time in Arvada with that. That group is gonna need some help and some leadership to come together to become the effective city council that Arvada has always benefited from. I think I'm a really good person to do that. I bring some unique skills to the table. As an entrepreneur my whole life, I have owned numerous businesses and quite a number of real estate, and I bring skills such as great legal foundation. I know the law pretty well and many things. The ability to negotiate, something I've done my whole life. Decision making. As a small business owner, you are a big time decision maker. I employ over 35 people. I know about interactions between employees and how you employ things. These are all skills that a city council is going to need. And of everyone who is currently running for city council or on city council, I'm the only one who brings these characteristics to the table. So I believe I would be a good person to run. I'm a good person to run for mayor of Arvada. I believe I would be a quite good mayor of Arvada, and I would bring some skills that the council needs. So I hope you'll vote for me and help me become that mayor of Arvada.
Perfect.
So thank you all for being here today. It's been a real honor. The reason why I'm running for mayor, as I mentioned before my opening statement, was simply that I've literally spent 2 decades out there learning how to work with people, impacting that, whether they're on the far right or the far left, bringing people together, listening to people to find collaborative solutions. That is what our mayor does. Our mayor sits as the head of the council. And so that is the person who makes sure that everyone has a turn to speak, everyone is respected. Mark Williams has done a very good job of this internally with the council, and I'm committed to using my knowledge and my training to be able to bring that forward into the future and keep us one of the most effective councils in the entire region. To Mr. Marriott's point, yes, we are going to have a significant changeover. Randy Mormon and Lisa Smith-Foray were both elected 2 years ago, and so they only have half a first term underneath their belts. Mark Williams and David Jones are going off, so we will have new representatives in Bob's at large and in my District 2 seats no matter what. Bob is running for District 4. Should he win, we only have 4 or 5. And if Mr. Mariott wins the mayorship, there will be an appointment to the District 3 seat. If I win the mayorship, Mr. Mariott, myself, and Mr. Fifer, all, if he wins District 4, all remain. And you will have the 3 senior most leaders of the council all there to provide our knowledge, our leadership to continue forward with this next generation to help the next council. Finally, what I believe leadership is about more than showing up on Mondays, reading our briefing books, casting a vote, and talking internally. It's about being visible in the community, which is what I have done. You've all seen me. I led the Marshall Fire gift card campaign response, where we raised $70,000 in a matter of days to help with that, to help victims' needs. That was not 30 seconds. No.
Right, it was not. Take another 5.
Taking my last 10 seconds. I've supported Hope Connection Community, I've supported Hope House, other local nonprofits. And so that's generally what I will do. I will be visible, I will be accessible, and I will be listening to you to work collaboratively with you. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for coming, and really do appreciate getting the chance to ask you our questions. I wish we had more, but you know, an hour and a half is a long time, especially for the people on Zoom. So again, I appreciate you coming. Thank you all for coming. If you have time to stick around a little while and chit chat, that would be great, because we're going to be here taking things down and cleaning up. So please take your chance to stay if you can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.